National security is one of the priorities that the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration has anchored its renewed hope agenda upon. The desire to make the country safe for the citizens' welfare and economic development has influenced government's decisions on appointments in the security sector or defense budgeting. Joining us now on this show is Major General Danjuma Alli Keffi, retired, former 37th General Officer commanding the 1st Division of the Nigerian Army. Good morning, General Keffi. Thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, General, very quickly, tomorrow it will be exactly 1 year since President Tinubu assumed office as President of Nigeria. Now, during the campaigns and all of the processes, two major issues, security and the economy. And President Tinubu, like the other candidates in the lead up to the 2023 general election, kept talking about security. 1 year later, what's your assessment of what President Tinubu has been able to do with the security situation in Nigeria?
Well, thank you very much once again. We find ourselves in a complex situation. This security situation, the situation we find ourselves today, was inherited. As the president inherited it, it didn't just start yesterday. And of course, one would have expected that given the enormity, given the challenges, the security challenges, the president should have hit the ground running in a matter of speaking. He should have prioritized security. He has tried, I must commend him, for steadying the ship, for stabilizing the situation in some way. But the truth of the matter is that the situation is concerning, is worrisome, and in some cases, one could say it is worsening, deteriorating. But to me, it is not, all hope are not lost, but the president should have prioritized security. And if there is one agenda that I would have suggested for, to Mr. President to take or to consider, would have been security. And his priority should have been security, and nothing more. We are in a terrible situation. And one thing was not helped, that is like your last correspondent said, if I'm right, he said the president's body language did not convey that seriousness of, that is the seriousness in which he takes security. And I tend to agree in some ways. Now, in this instance, one would have expected that given the enormity, the magnitude of the situation we have, his cabinet, especially those cabinet members that had to do, or that whole portfolios that covers security, that is in terms of defense, Honorable Minister of Defense and State also, the Minister of Interior, the Minister of Police Affairs, should have been people who are seasoned. I mean, one is not saying that you should have retired generals or retired military officers or people who are in who are in security field to necessarily hold a portfolio of defense. But given the situation we find ourselves, I think the current appointees there square pegs in a round hole, in a manner of speaking. They are not suitable for the appointment, in my own opinion, and that conveyed to me, it conveys that is, I mean, that this is not of high priority to Mr. President. Reason again for advocating that the appointees, the team, the national security team should be equal, should be square pegs in square hole, is that, right, the service chiefs, that is the Army, Navy, and Air Force, and also the Chief of Defense Staff, and in my opinion, also the National Security Advisor, are good picks. They are, you couldn't get better people to fill that appointment. But in the case of Minister of Defense, for instance, you need seasoned people. Given the situation we found ourselves, we're in a crisis situation. It should have been perhaps retired military officer of any of the service, or somebody who has been, who is seasoned in security affairs to head that, because it will help the service chiefs. He needs people to drive his agenda. That is the security agenda, the process. You need people to drive that process. I mean, we're thinking of, he has 3 years left in this first term. If he's lucky to get second term, fine. But 3 years. Now, we need to see results. There needs to be a strategy of how to address this issue. And if you come up with good strategies, and you don't have people, competent people to drive it in terms of Ministry of Interior, in terms of Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Police Affairs, you're going to face a lot of challenges, because you need people that will support, that will assist the service chiefs to interface with the National Assembly. You need people that will assist the services to also get things from other ministries. Don't forget that when you're talking of national security issues, you're talking of crisis situation of this magnitude, right? All sectors of the economy, all sectors have to come together. So you need the political leadership to be up to the task. But in my own opinion, with due respect to the Honorable Minister of Defense and Minister of Defense State, and also the Police Affairs, I don't know him. I think they could be reassigned to other portfolios, and that will help the process. Again, I think the country lost a golden opportunity. That is, and I'm referring to the truncating of the terrorism financing, which the last administration started, a good thing. Unfortunately, along the line, it was truncated. And if I may say, I headed that outfit, the Operation Service Wide. You may recall that there were, on a number of occasions, the former Attorney General, Minister of Defense, Minister of Justice, Mr. Abubakar Malami, and even the former president said a number of times that we had arrested some terrorism financiers, sponsors, collaborators, and the rest. And that was true. And that something significant was going to be done, and it's going to listen. But unfortunately, the whole thing was truncated. And if that had been allowed if they are seen in through, I think it would have given a lot of impetus. It would have complemented the counterterrorism efforts that the military and other security agencies are doing. But I think it was a golden opportunity that was missed, and that was largely, I think, a negative, a minus for the former president. I think it was a golden opportunity lost.
All right. All right, thank you so much. That was a good review in terms of an overview of this administration's 1 year in office, in particular looking at security. And if I hear you very loudly, it's a fail. They haven't quite succeeded in managing security properly, even though the president in a recent statement had said that his administration had done well, that even though they haven't been able to tackle all the insecurity challenges, they have made quite a big effort in terms of security. Again, that's open for Nigerians to determine. But I'd like you to speak about the police. Oftentimes when we look at the security architecture, the security of Nigeria and tackling insecurity, we focus on the military. I can understand why. But the police have a role to play, and we do not want to relegate them in such a way that we depend heavily on the military and neglect the police. How well has the police force done under this administration? How well has this administration catered to the promises they made during campaign season to improve the welfare of the police, employ more police officers, and those other things? I'd like you to evaluate that for us this morning, please.
Okay, thank you once again. First and foremost, let's be very clear that internal security, it is not the primary role constitutionally for the military. Say, for the army, for instance, right, the number one role assigned to it under the Constitution is that of the territorial defense of the country from external attack on land. It is also the same for the Navy, Maritime, and also for the Air Force. Now, the military only comes in to internal, to support the other security agencies, police, and other things in the internal security situation where they are overwhelmed and where it is requested. Sadly, for the past, at least since from 2011, where with the Arab Spring, has increasingly been.
Hello, General. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, please go ahead.
Unfortunately, in my own opinion, since the Arab Spring, the fallout of the Arab Spring, which impacted on the Sahel and Nigeria also, the deterioration of security, the insecurity situation worsened, right? The military has increasingly been out, and to the extent that the military has virtually is now engaged fully in its secondary role rather than its primary role, and that is not good enough for the military itself and for the country in general. Because let's not forget, we are right now witnessing heightened security situation globally. We are almost on the verge of a third world war, God forbid, but we are on the verge of that. And our military being out on the street, out of barracks, not preparing, not training for its primary role could be counterproductive, could be dangerous for us. So the police should be re-equipped, should be allowed retrained, re-equipped, and all things necessary that is required should be done to get them to take over some of the roles of some of the things that the military is doing in the street. You hear these days a clamor for the state police. I mean, state police, well, I neither support nor am I against it. I'm not against it, but I don't support it for now. But the thing is that what is the reason for agitation for state police? The agitation is because there are gaps. State governors are concerned about the worsening security situation in their states, respective states, largely because perhaps in their states the military units there are either thinned out, reassigned somewhere in support or for conducting military operations, say in the northwest and in the northeast, as it is. So you have gaps, and that's why people are advocating for state police. Now, in my own opinion, right, the police should come in, but again, we need an additional force, if you may. We should look at the concept of National Guard. This was President Ibrahim Babangida, set up the National Guard some years back, shortly before he left in 1993. And unfortunately, it was scrapped not long after he left. And I think that was a mistake because in internal security, the police is inadequate because policing work is maintenance of law and order. There are some situations where the police will be inadequate in terms of firepower, in terms of training, in terms of capability. They may not be able to do it. But if you have a National Guard, and in this case, say for instance the United States, they have a National Guard. In many other countries, they have something akin to the National Guard. So we should start thinking along that line. It may not necessarily be the National Guard the way it is in the United States. But again, look at, we could look at bolstering the NSCDC, that is the Civil Defense Corps. We could think of bolstering them and bolstering them in a way that will make them effective to handle those situations because some criminal situations, some security situation in the country could be beyond the capacity of the police. So in bolstering the NSCDC, I'm looking at that the military, for instance, could superimpose command over them. This is what you have in countries like Bangladesh. Bangladesh, for instance, is a third world country like us. It has a population of about 200 million. It is a country that is not well endowed with resources. But you'll be surprised to learn, to hear that the Bangladesh can, in times of emergency, mobilize up to 10 million men under arms. It can do that. The armed forces is not that large, but it can mobilize because right from the village up to the from the village units upwards, it has what it's called. It has elements of military or force that can be mobilized. They train in times of that is peacetime like now, but in the event of emergency, they can come in, and of course, the
Go ahead, wrap up, General, before I ask more questions. Just wrap up.
Okay, so I think we should look at in this regard, that is not just the police, but the Civil Defense Corps. Okay. We had in our...
Go ahead, sir. General?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so that's, yes, that is... I mean, get the Civil Defense Corps. Now, the police too need to be retrained, like you said earlier. And the police should be retrained, and I absolutely agree with it. And they should be allowed to come in to less intense area, less threatened area, there's areas within their capability. But you need to think along the line of establishing a National Guard Corps or remodifying, look at tinker with the NSCDC or other strong arm aspect that will complement the military in terms of internal security. But the military needs to be pulled out and returned to the barrack for, to retrain for it to prepare for its primary role.
Okay, so, I mean, you've talked about a reservist system, you've talked about many iterations like what is happening in some other parts of the world. Even in America, you've got a lot of people that are military reservists. You know, they also have the National Guard system with all of that. And they also have multi-layer policing system. But when we look at the context of Nigeria, number one, let's look at many of the factors. We have poverty that also heightens this insecurity. We have proliferation of small arms across our borders. We have tribal insecurities across our borders. We also have problems, you know, as regards discipline in the military. I want you to talk about that. I like the case of Okwama, Banex Plaza, you know, that's just been shut down because of the back and forth. I want you to talk about problems with discipline at first. All of this also disrupt that civilian-military relations. That's number one. Number two, when we are saying let's put more boots on the ground. Let's arm more people. We have NSCDC, we have police, we have vigilante groups across the country. At some point, we had civilian GTF and all of that. Is it really about the conversation about the boots on the ground, or development of a proper doctrine that employs a lot of intelligence in fighting this asymmetric warfare? Because that's the angle that is also missing in all of this. Is the doctrine holistic enough?
Okay. Right. Good point. I should stress, first and foremost, that there is no problem of discipline in the military. Right. You may not agree with me. It's not because I'm a retired military officer, but generally, we don't have that problem of discipline. You can see that the military is always decisive when it comes to issues of discipline. And I mean, if there's any infraction, the issue of Okwama and Bandex Plaza, I think it fits into what we said a while ago. That is, the military has been out of the barracks for too long. The military is doing, has been exposed to such kind of situations which ordinarily shouldn't be. Don't forget a military. I mean, a military is trained to fight. I mean, that is why you keep a military, to fight. And you instill him with some sense of aggression. A soldier should be aggressive, you know. And the aggression we expect him to exhibit is against an adversary, enemy, not against Nigerians, of course. And we do not in any way support soldiers being aggressive to fellow Nigerians. But the military being too long out of the barracks, I mean, conducting this so-called, supporting the security agencies in the counter-insurgency, counter-terrorism, internal security, I mean, has exposed the military to, I mean, some of those issues that you have. Now, also you talked of boots on the ground and whether developing proper doctrine, holistic approach or this. Well, you may recall in an earlier appearance, on this show when I was here, I think some 3 weeks back or so, and I advocated that we need a strong military. There is no doubt about that. And having a strong military is talking in terms of raising the strength of the military, equipping them properly. Now, I cited an example of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, a country that is like 1/10 or 1/20 the size of Nigeria. But for them to handle that insecurity, I mean, the situation that they faced at that time against the Tamil Tigers, they had to create about 17 to 18 divisions. And within 3 years, I mean, inclusive of the training, the organizing and other aspects of the logistics and the rest, they handled that something. And I believe now they are back to the barracks and other this. So you need that surge. You cannot, look, the Nigerian military, a fantastic military. We've proved our worth. We've shown that we're world class. I mean, tell me the military, one military that has done so well like the Nigerian military. We did that in Ekomog. We exhibited in Sierra Leone. We're a fantastic military, no doubt about it. But since 1989 or 1990 when we went to Liberia, until date, the military has been out. The military is fatigued. The military is tired. The military needs to have some rest, need to organize itself and retrain, you know, be equipped and this thing. So the military is not a problem of discipline. It's not a problem of not having the adequate doctrine. But we should understand that the military has been out for very, very long. I can't see any military in the world, not the United States, I say that, not the United Kingdom. I was trained in Sandhurst. I was commissioned from the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst. So I can, to some extent, say that no military has been exposed to such kind of situation for a very long time, like our people. So one should commend our military for what they are doing. So that is not to say that doctrines, relevant doctrines, which we have, and which we have, but
General, even as bandits take over 151 plateau communities, you're still saying we're doing well? 151 communities in the plateau taken over by bandits?
Look, right.
Go ahead, sir.
Get me right. I said at the beginning of this show, I stated that the situation is worsening. I mean, let's not pretend. To say otherwise is to be hypocritical. Now the situation is bad. Make no mistake about that. Again, we don't have sufficient security. The security personnel. What we have right now is insufficient to handle the situation. Almost every state in the country is facing serious insecurity situation. It's because of the shortage, the insufficient number of troops that we have, that you see those situations coming up. Because just like, as I said a while ago, we've thinned out some locations. We've moved troops. We've moved forces, elements, to the northeast, to the northwest, to handle those systems. So from the areas where you've moved troops from, they've noticed gaps. Don't forget, criminality is local. Now, so these guys have seen gaps because those places are not they don't have sufficient troops to address this issue. And that is why we're also advocating for perhaps a National Guard or enhancing the civil defense. So this is not the fault of the military. I must stress that. It's not the fault of the military. And again, I mean, look at Nigeria, the size of Nigeria, and what do you have? What is the size of the military? I just said a while ago, in times of emergency, the Bangladesh, which is 1/10th geographical size, you can check it. It's 1/10th geographical size of Nigeria. In population, yes, it's about 200 million. But in an emergency situation, it can mobilize up to 10 million. You can fact check it. Up to 10 million. I trained in Bangladesh for 2 years. I did my senior staff course and I did my NDC there. Yeah.
I'm sure many Nigerians will agree with you that indeed the situation is bad. But let me ask you, each time we find ourselves in a bad situation with regard to security, Nigerians are quick to come forward and say, oh, let's sack the security chiefs. Buhari sacked his security chiefs. It didn't solve any problem. It didn't improve the situation. Now, what is it that even when we sack the security chiefs, we recruit new ones, we put them there, the problem remains the same? What are those things that we're not looking at? We've heard about national security architecture, national security plan to be reviewed every 5 years. What are we reviewing really if we are not seeing results? Where is the missing link?
Very good question. Now, in my own opinion, and it's my own view and opinion, I think number one is insincerity. The current service chiefs, Army, Navy, Air Force, the Chief of Defense Staff, and the National Security Advisor, in my own opinion, are square pegs in square hole. I say that again. And I know the service chiefs, the three of them. I know the CDS very well. And I can, vouch for them. I mean, it's not my place to do. They've been appointed. I didn't recommend them in any way. But again, like you said, whenever there are issues, you call for the sack of the service chiefs. I think, again, we should go back. You asked me missing link. I said earlier on, that the body language of the president when he came in, right? It's not just rhetoric. It's not to say I'm keen, I desire to address security. Then you come and appoint the Minister of Defense State, Interior, Police, and people that, in my opinion, should not be there. Should be in other, should hold other portfolios. I mean, in every human endeavor, the team matters, the human factor. Team selection is critical to success. That is one. Two, having the right strategy is critical. I said earlier that insincerity. I mean, look at the former President Muhammad Buhari. The first 2 years, I mean, things were wonderful. I mean, the Northeast, I mean, we saw improvement. We saw good results. I mean, but later, things started falling apart. And that is when mischief set in. That's my own opinion. That's when mischief set in. I mean, after 2 years, he should have rejigged his the security teams. The chiefs should have been changed, in my own opinion, at that time. But again, President Buhari, I mean, with all due respect, I think failed as a leader. And there was a lot of mischief and insincerity. Some people say he's incompetent. I agree he's incompetent. I said that. I mean, and that was why you had that situation that, unfortunately, the present government administration has inherited. But again, I must add that I'm impressed with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, with what I've seen so far. I've never met him in person. I don't know him. And I'm impressed, really. He's like President Zelensky of Ukraine. You may like him or not like him. You may like what he's doing, but they exhibit leadership. I mean, the rise of the occasion. One quality that Tinubu has, which I mentioned the other day, is that of he's a listening leader, a responsible leader. And I think he should seek good counsel, and he should listen to what people are saying. But the missing link, like you asked me, right, is that, to me, those things I earlier stated, we need to have troop surge, increase the troop discipline, clear this once and for all. The insincerity behind this insecurity, people are profiting from this insecurity. That was why I stated earlier that if the former president had been sincere, if he had followed through that terrorism financing, I mean, we arrested so many people. People were detained for 9 months. We were investigating them. People who are linked to those people that were jailed, the Dubai 6.
All right.
I mean, we were in UAE and the rest. And,
okay.
But they were not sincere.
Okay. All right, Major General, as we begin to look to wrapping up this conversation, we've looked at the previous 1 year, and now we're looking at the next year, the second year of this administration. And the big question would be that, even though you've said, I mean, two things, I'm not really sure, maybe just clearly, do you think that this administration has, if you were to score 100%, what would you score this administration with regards to security? Because on one hand, I hear you comparing the president to Zelensky, and on the other hand, I hear you saying that there are certain areas security has failed. So I just want to get your position on this in terms of how well this administration has done. Then, in the next 6 months, what are some critical things that the president must do in the immediate to salvage some of these challenges you've identified in security in Nigeria? Just very quickly. Thank you.
Okay. I mean, it would be unfair for me to score the president. I have not really looked at the parameters to assess him in terms of
President Buhari
security.
just now, sir.
But just like
you scored President Buhari, you said he failed.
Yeah, that's.
But why can't you score this president? If you score President
8
Buhari,
years.
So can't you score after 1 year?
After 8 years.
So that's why we are saying, Major General, that's why we're saying, that's what we're saying, hold on a second, please. That's why I was very specific, the first year. So in terms of the first year, we're not saying, of course, that's why I mentioned as a follow-up question that what are the immediate things for him to do in the next 6 months to fix some of the challenges we've identified. But in your assessment, because this is an assessment of the first year in office, how would you score him?
Well, he has tried in steadying the ship of state. He has tried to stabilize. I will say one thing. Had the previous government administration continued up to now, perhaps the situation would have been 10 times worse than this. I expected things to get really bad.
So over 50%, 60%?
It's bad.
Yes. How well? Is it a good, fair, because you're very clear with the last administration. Don't forget, things can improve or things can get worse. But in the first year, how did he do?
Well, not too good. I'll score him 40%.
Okay.
For now. It's still work in progress. There's still time for him to recover.
Yeah.
And then, yes.
Go ahead. So now, in terms of way forward, so how can he move that 40% to 80%? When we're speaking, how can he double those numbers by the end of next year?
I earlier said he should rejig his national security team, his National Security Council. Let him reassign. If he's not going to remove them, I'm not saying he should remove them, but he should reassign, get competent hands and appoint them. That's people who are up to the task to the Minister of Defense, Minister of Interior, and Police Affairs. He needs to do that urgently because this is what will drive the process. This is what will help the service chiefs. This is what, now, even if you come up with fantastic, what do you call it, strategic plan on how to do this thing, if you don't have people who drive it, there is a problem. And why I emphasize on this is that if you have seasoned people who are say like former service chiefs or people who have been in the security sector, or people somebody like say Wike, make him Minister of Defense, and see he will assist the service chiefs to succeed because he will stand up squarely to the National Assembly. That is why the problem is, the overbearing this thing of the National Assembly. That's oversight, puts a lot of pressure on the service chiefs in terms of, summoning them here and there. And we all know that this summoning, there is an ulterior motive, pecuniary benefits. I'm saying this thing based on my past experience. I don't know what the current National Assembly is. But previous National Assembly, while I was from the rank of colonel and up to major general before I left, in fairness to this one, I don't know anything about it, but the service chiefs were subjected to hell of a time. They summon them here and there just because they want this thing, part this thing. So that's one of the problems. Two, the president, they must come up with a strategy. The strategy to address this issue. And within the next 6 months to 1 year, they should begin to see results on the ground. Thirdly, you need to increase its troop strength. Look, let's not make mistake about it. The insurgents, the bandits are using what you call guerrilla tactics, hit and run, and Nigeria is a vast area. The Northwest is a vast territory. With 1 or 2 divisions there, that's 8th Division and the 1st Mechanized Division, the division I commanded earlier, and also in North Central Nigeria, where you have the 3rd Division. They are grossly inadequate. I said the other day that Sri Lanka, that is not is not comparable to Niger State, who will raise up 17 divisions thereabout to address that issue. Why are we pretending? So that aspect has to be distant. Then, you recall, immediately after the president was inaugurated, either or before he was inaugurated, President Ibrahim Babangida, former President Ibrahim Babangida, made 5 suggestions to the president that, first, reorganize the military. Very fundamental, reorganize the military. Now, the military, the organization, in terms of, say, the army, for instance, right? Now, the order of battle, what we call order of battle, the 3-3-3 concept. Now, you have 3 battalions that make up a brigade. 3 brigades make up a division. And that's distinct. What you have right now is that, and each of the battalion, that's the maneuver battalions, or the fighting battalions, if you like, the arms, the maneuver arms, that's infantry and armor. A battalion should, on the average, have about 500 to 720 personnel. But currently what you have, in some battalions, you have just about 100. And you call that a battalion. That is a glorified company. It is insufficient. I mean, but the military hierarchy, the military top brass, are forced to do certain things because in order to spread troops, so that there seems to be presence. So now, and that is what is even contributing to the problem, because this piecemeal approach, they want to satisfy the state governors on their neck, the presidencies on their neck, the National Assembly is on the neck. Oh, there's a problem here. There's attack here. Troops are not distant. And the man has limited troops. But so he has to, send a few here, send a few here. And that's not enough. And that is why we're having this kind of problem. Because if you try to be strong everywhere, you tend to be weak all everywhere. There is a way we fight. We must ensure that units, battalions, are up to strength. And they should be well equipped. That is another reason. We've talked of re-equipping. I mean, re-equipping is not just tanks. It's not just aircraft. It's not just ships, right? Look at the soldier. The soldier. I commanded a brigade in the Northeast. I mean, in Konduga, the 26th Task Force Brigade, 2014-2015, before I was injured.
Keffi? Well, General, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt you've raised a number of interesting points. Your recommendations, I hope someone is listening. And also you raised the point about National Guard, where not too many people may agree with you. National Guard, some people may say, well, why not state police? Why National Guard? But you think the National Guard will help. And then you said that maybe they should make some week a Minister of Defense. Well, I'm not too sure there will be many people out there who will agree with you that Wike should go from FCT to defense. But in any case, I mean, it's a matter, these matters are matters of opinion. Thank you very much, General, for joining us on the morning show.